will say, well, a part of me. And I always correct them because that's the separation thing. Well, well, you're over there, and you're over there, so is that separation? Not in my world, because your field between one another has already connected, is talking to itself and themselves, and it's expanded throughout, forward, backwards, and around. And now we can measure that. And that's what heart math has done, and some of you that been to my other talks have heard the statistics and the numbers on how far our heart waves go out. Our brain waves go out 6 to 8 inches. How bright are we? I don't know, probably as bright as we need to be. But we keep overriding this little thing with this big brain that goes out 12 feet, minimum 12 feet. And I mentioned, I asked Heart Math, I asked Deb Rosman is the main researcher with them, clinical psychologist. I've been on some panels and in seminars with them. I'm like, so tell me about this 12 feet. Like, I just envision it going out forever. Just like, well, that's as far as we can measure it at this point. Right? So there's a lot of that still happening. When I would go into seminars with Joe, we would measure the room energy when we went in. It was empty. It was a hotel room. No one really had been in it other than the people setting it up. And then we'd go back after the talk in the evening and measure it again. And then we'd measure it the day after meditation and at the end of the seminar. And it's always, and now he does it with even more sophisticated, bigger, better gadgets, and it's always off the charts. We are mostly energy, 0.999% energy. This body, this physical thing is only 0.10%, right? So, let's get out of our heads, even if it's just to play for a minute, right? How are we doing on time? So I mentioned last time, we talked in links, so I'll just remind you of using your brain, all three. That really the information comes to your gut first. So you've heard and you've probably said many, many times in your life, listen to your gut. That's real. That information, and again, Candace Pert proved that, separate operating system that has the potential to work on its own and to do things with your intelligence from that place. So why leave it out? Then the heart and the brain and the heart. And that system that really has the feelings, the joy, the freedom, the love. And then we have the brain. And we even have, like I mentioned earlier, the feeling center of the brain. So Heart Math has proven and has a technique that I'm going to do with you if you'd like right now, which is called a heart lock-in. But what we know and what I worked with in the research when I was the clinical director of a treatment center is that when all of our systems are in alignment, that's when we're most coherent. And so Heart Math can measure coherence. And so they even have instruments and gadgets, even one you can plug into your iPhone and put a little, I've got one with me that you put on your earlobe, and it'll tell you, it'll kind of coach you on how to slow down your breathing and think of some thoughts or whatever so that you get in coherence. And then you can think a thought that could be frightening and you can watch it go right to red and then it go back to green. There's a lot of technology out there that they have used to really prove that when we're in alignment, we are more of our best selves. So if you will, so this is again research-based. It takes 3 minutes and you will walk out of here feeling smarter. You will be younger. I'm going to talk another time about telomeres. Anyone familiar with telomeres? The little cells, so you're saying yes? So talk about, we know now that Greg Braden has been into parts of the country and monasteries up beyond the hills of Nepal and other temples where people have lived to be 200 years, and began his curiosity and his work with how do these people live? They don't look 200 years old. There's only a few of them that they can prove, but their average age for a lot of them, mostly nuns in these monasteries, were 120 years old. And he asked them, what makes you live so long? And what do you think they said?
Lack of
love, compassion, and being needed. And so heart math, I suspect, kind of got their idea from that, because what heart math has been able to prove is that when you are in coherence, when you use the thoughts of compassion, so when you're being compassionate towards yourself, compassion and gratitude, that you literally align yourself, my words, to your holistic nature, who you are, your best self, that leader inside and outside. And that is when we are most effective, when we make our best decisions, whether we're leading a team, a family, an animal, a tribe, or ourselves. That's when we are smartest. That's when we are most effective. That's also when we're happiest. And it's also when now, and I'm doing a class on the telomeres because you can measure them. I've got a lab in North Carolina that Greg works with, that you can measure the telomeres and then do meditation and some other things around, some ideas that I have, and then do a post-test on the telomeres. So we can actually now cause ourselves to become younger. That these telomeres, which they told us before were like little fingers that begin to lose their tips. And now we know that we can actually grow those tips back.
Let me in.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And it starts with what you're doing, just sitting here listening. It starts with showing up around things that interest you. It's stimulating your brain and your heart. It's laughing, the things that you're already doing. And then again, just like kind of knowing that original template, the more you know, the more you get to choose. So now you're like, I'm sitting here laughing, and so my telomeres are growing and I just got 10 years younger. Just having that intention is really powerful because the body goes, now you're talking, now you're listening to me, that's what I was built for, that's what I came here for. But until we put that intention there, we're not getting the most juice out of it, right? Any other comments or questions before I take you into the just the little heart lock-in?
Just makes me think of Star Wars, the Force.
Oh yeah, who knows what they knew, right? Yeah, it's all so interesting. Okay, so here's what they suggest. That you either your eyes, if they're looking down, cause your brain to kind of go into more of a meditative state. So you can close your eyes or just look down. And what you're going, and I'll just guide you through turning heartward, which is my word. They call it heart locking. It's just a few minutes, and you can use this at any time, and it's the best decision maker. Greg Braden used it when he was deciding whether or not to come home during 9/11 from Australia. Tucked around the other side, as the stewardess was saying, I don't think you should go, and he said, let me check, I'll be right back, and decided to come home. So big decisions and everything in between. So yeah, just notice your breath. Allow yourself to slow down just a bit. Being in ease and grace, whatever it is that makes you connect with your heart. Giving yourself permission to have all that is just fall away. And imagine all of your attention and energy is now on your heart. That magical, joyful, that laughing, sweet, kind, loving, generous heart. That heart that has all the wisdom you need. You might imagine tapping on your heart. Some people put their hand on their heart. Whatever it is you choose to do, know that it is right for you. Allowing yourself to sink just a little bit deeper. Knowing that now you have aligned body, mind, and spirit. That at this moment in time, not only are you, but this whole room is in alignment. And as you do that, if you want to do a more advanced version of this, ask your heart a question. Now turn your attention towards compassion. Perhaps you'd like to turn your attention towards gratitude. Or maybe love. Take a couple of deep breaths here at your own pace, with your own level of comfort. And then when you're ready, float back up. Back into this room. And trust that if you did ask a question, you have the answer. Don't you dare doubt it. Because that's like what Barbara said. It's kind of like from here to here. You know, the farmers knew, and when they asked that question, the answer was there, and there was no more conversation around it. But how many of you went, oh, I got that, and then it went away because I was asking another question, right? Anyone want to share what you got?
I've been thinking about selling a horse that I've had for a while. And I've tried to do it in the past, and it's always been not that great of an experience, but I've always held a lot of angst around it, like I'm not going to find anyone that's going to take as good a care as I am, or that understands it, or all of this stuff. And so I've just kind of been playing with this idea lately, like maybe I'm just like really limited thinking here, and maybe I would find an amazing situation for him. Yeah. He can go fill his little destiny, and I can go fulfill mine, and it can be great. So kind of was like, you gonna do this again? Kind of gotta, yeah, maybe I think that would be okay.
There it is. That's huge. Yeah, and will you then now massage that?
Sure.
Yeah. And thanks, because that's a really powerful example and a really big question. I mean, this is horse, energy, love, a relationship, something that's not gone well for you, and yet you're saying, I asked the question, and it's like, yeah, let's do it this way. And it may be just because you're there, but it may be the time that you've spent here where you've really been rewiring your brain and connecting body, mind, and spirit, gut, heart, head, that everything has come and synced up, aligned for the truth of what gets to evolve now. And so often we have that. That's why people go to weekend retreats or seminars or take yoga classes, or, you know, for me, go hang out in Vallecito in the woods somewhere, and you know, those kinds of things, because it does that. Those answers come very quickly, they're very real, and they ripple out. So another point that you made that's beautiful I want to emphasize is that you said maybe I should change my beliefs, because that's a whole nother talk we could have. I know not today, but that's a whole nother talk about how important it is for us to move forward, is to really have the discipline. We have the self-awareness, we have the other awareness, and then we have to have the discipline to actually stay the course. So if someone came to me about anxiety, the first thing I would do would help them come up with a plan that they know would really help modify that anxiety. And the more ritual, the more habit that is in that system and their lifestyle, the more then they're changing their brain, the more they're building a muscle of strength and courage and coherence. And if they don't stick to that, then they are not using the discipline that their system needs for them to anchor and move out of stress or depression or anxiety or conflict. And it's the beliefs that we have that are really